Hey y'all, how are y'all doing? This is Sophia with Sophia Brings Light. Um, this is the 12-day of Yule challenge started by Ivy the Occultist. Shout out to her for bringing the community together and encouraging all of us to share our thoughts and ideas on different topics. I have so enjoyed seeing different people that I didn't know were on YouTube, finding new people. It has been a wonderful adventure, and I'm grateful to the occultist, for starting this challenge. Well, today we're talking about or reflecting on death and rebirth. And by trade, I'm a hospice nurse and an end of life doula, or I call myself a death midwife, which really embodies what I do for a living. And what some of the things, or a few of the things that I have learned in the process of dying, is I see this over and over again with a lot of the clients that I serve, is there is a breath that takes life, your last breath on this side of the veil. And I know there's a breath on the other dimension. And it's like a countdown almost, a rhythmic countdown as people are dying and their breath gets slower and slower and slower till it fades. And I know that the breath returns. It's just a gnosis, because it's almost like you could see on some people that wasn't the last breath in the universe, that there was another breath that brought life into a new existence and a new dimension. And the other thing that I've noticed, being a hospice nurse and an end-of-life doula, is that our ancestors are there for us in those last moments. People often reach or talk to people have long gone and died, call their names. I've seen them hold whole conversations with whatever entity, and they'll say, hey, that's my Aunt Julie or whatever, or they'll call their name, reach for them. So it, to me, proves that there are ancestors and they are our guides, and they also are there at the end of this existence to guide us on to the next existence. And then the other lesson I learned from the dying is, don't sweat the small stuff. You know, arguments with this one or that one, or who gets this, or mama told me I was going to get that. Doesn't matter. They don't care. They have, they often have this stare into different spaces or places, like they're seeing, even they will look at you and it's like they're seeing through you. I feel like even before that last breath, they are already taking that transition and that journey, even in our sight. And a lot of times they withdraw from this side of the world. So they may not be speaking or talking or any of that to their relatives, because I feel like they're just withdrawing and being drawn to the other side. It's a wonderful thing. And then the other honor I get as being a hospice nurse and an end-of-life doula is that often I cleanse their body for the last time to prepare them for this new birth and new existence, as if cleaning off the old from this existence so they can birth into another existence. And as being a magical practitioner, I try to make that last bath a spiritual bath. I use candles. I will use frankincense and myrrh and sandalwood. It changes. Death has a smell to it sometimes, and not necessarily a bad smell, but there's this kind of sweet dry smell. And when I cleanse them in these, to me, biblical oils, the frankincense and the myrrh kind of just linger in the room, and just it's like it assists them on this journey. And often when I call the family back in to, say their last goodbyes or their last hug or whatever, it's like the sweetness of that smell kind of relaxes everybody to release. The other thing I've learned about death is that basically we have no control. In death, there has to come a point where you just have to surrender to the process. And I see some people are very frightened and anxious, and it's prolonged, and it takes us a long time to get them comfortable. But those who release and just surrender to the process kind of have an easier way of leaving. And I know that it's hard to leave your loved ones on this side, but often when they can eventually release, or we can finally get them comfortable, then they can release. And sometimes it's not always physical pain. It's a spiritual pain of leaving, of sometimes unresolved issues between family members or whatever. Maybe they didn't get to say goodbye to one person or ask for forgiveness for an act. I know a lot of people in my field the goal is for everybody to have a good death. And it is a wonderful goal. And some people do have a wonderful death with their loved ones all around them, kissing and hugging and helping them birth to the new existence. But some people, death reflects our life. And some people have a hard death. Maybe they weren't able to resolve some issues in their lives. Maybe they've had a lot of problems and a lot of processes. Sometimes I feel that my job is just to be a quiet presence, to allow people to be able to speak whatever those concerns are before death. To sometimes not say a word, but just be a quiet presence of acceptance of however your life has been. This is where you are now, and I'm just here for you. And sometimes that allows them to say or ask for forgiveness, even for someone that is not there. And that's a part of my job. And putting that all together, when I reflect on my own life and my own death, what I realize that death it's not good or bad. Death just is. We can't always make somebody have the perfect death. What we can do is help them accept what has happened in life, and that maybe on the other side, there is some release from that. So death is a rebirth. I feel it. I sense it. I've seen it. That there is a rebirth that happens, that this is not the end. It's the end of this existence, and we leave this shell, but we move on to another dimension. And it's a beautiful thing. It has its good and bad. Isn't that life, though? Death reflects life. And I don't feel like we have to make death good or bad. We just have to work with death where it is. It's also the same thing in birth. Birth is neither good or bad. Birth just is. Sometimes we have beautiful births, but sometimes there are mothers who may not have the best birth because they weren't prepared. They weren't ready to be pregnant at this time, and they have to learn to accept what is at this moment and what will be in the next. So I guess that's my thing about death. I just know my death will be, and death is what it is, and I will have to, just like all of us, travel that journey to the next existence and accept where I am at that moment. Be blessed.